Hello again. Now that we've got a couple days worth of the old footage done, figured it's time to get back to some current progress. So I've got the brush hog still hooked up from trying to mow our forest, and I decided that since I need the backhoe on it, I would hurry and mow some of the hayfield here so that we could get that looking a little better. So I'm going to just zip around the field a few times and we'll get that squared away. The forest has been an interesting situation. We are expecting that it will get pretty much decimated in the not too distant future by the emerald ash borer, and are expecting that I'm going to need to harvest pretty much the entire forest over the next few years. That's kind of been something that we haven't looked at the option of doing any kind of commercial harvest or selling the logs in the past, because it was just not it wasn't really worthwhile to try and do. The ash trees they hadn't had a decent market, and since they're not a structural grade, they don't really have much of a demand, so it pretty much was going to be, we'd get like $80 per 1,000 board feet, for it to be used as pulp, and that's pretty crummy. To give you an idea, they're like 110 feet. I can realistically expect to get at least 4, maybe 5 decent logs out of each of the larger trees. Few of them bifurcate, so there might be more lumber out of that. Some of them are pretty thick, so they might provide bigger logs that way. But just as a very, very rough estimate, if I did a quick calculation based on kind of an average, and I could basically get an estimated 1,000 board feet for every 2 to 3 trees that are over about 16 inches at breast height. So there's quite a few that are out there, but we never had anybody that was willing to buy them. We were actually notified by a friend over the weekend that they have a property a little further north in the state than we are, but they actually have someone harvesting the ash trees off their property, and they were offering $500 per 1,000 board feet. So that's actually a decent sum of money. As you can see here, there's quite a bit of ash trees out there. And on a side note, I don't know if you'll enjoy the background video image. The sun was shining through the trees pretty brightly, and it was washing out there's a lot of white, and so I decided that to try and make it a little easier to look at the screen, I would use the color white as a chroma key, with only a 15% 15% comparison. So this fun little video animation in the background is just there to make it a little easier to look at the screen. But what we're doing right now in the video is actually going out and marking. We're using the GPS map and marking which trees need to come down specifically for the road that is going to be built for our milling barn area. This was done before we discovered the potential sale, and I'm kind of torn, because on the one hand, theoretically, if we were able to get a similar offer, we have enough trees out here that we should be able to basically pay for the permit to harvest, and then use the funds from the sale to turn around and pay for a well to be dug. So we might be heading that route in the near future. The downside to that is that we were planning to actually harvest all of this lumber and use a lot of it for furniture and hardwood floors, ceilings, and walls in our homes and buildings. So there's the chance that we get a well sooner without having any financial burden, but then that down the road presents a slightly different financial burden, because then we would have to potentially be bringing in logs at that point down the road. So I don't know. We'll have to see, and it might be that they come down and these are just too small for what they're wanting, because a lot of them are in the 8 to 10 inch range, and those are not going to be something most mills are going to want to deal with. But who knows? We'll see what we've got. So now that we've kind of gone around and we've figured out where that particular barn structure is going to go, where the road around it is going to go, and this needs to be a fairly sturdy and large structure, because it will be like housing all of my milling equipment. It'll house all of the lumber after I've milled it, so I've got a place to let everything dry, protected from the elements. And if we receive logs, they're going to be coming in on 53-foot trailer or in the back of a 20-foot dump truck, things like that. I guess they're 16 feet for the bed. So it's got to be fairly well established and not something that's going to be soft or get stuck. The route that I'm taking for this is that as I clear out and get rid of the stumps, I'll be leveling everything and then bringing in the local quarry calls it junk. It's the stuff that they don't want to run through their crushers, and it has an occasional piece of metal or occasional piece of wood or something, which for the purpose of laying down as a very rough, large size rock to just help with the weight displacement and to make sure that there's a nice solid foundation in there, it'll work perfectly. So I've actually got 4 or 5, I think 4 loads in this particular spot now. That'll be one of the videos coming up, is the footage of actually getting that. And I will just keep working my way out, and then the plan is that I will continue to build, and then when I find a tree that I need to take down, I'll just take it down and remove the stump and smooth everything back over, and just keep driving out there with loads of the junk. And this junk, mind you, is anything from 2 and 3 inches, which is the decent sized small stuff, up into I bet about half of any given load is between 3 and 10 inches in diameter, and then there's even a few that are 15, 20. I think there was a couple that were, there was one that was like 2 feet 24 inches in diameter. It's kind of an oblong shape, so I guess not quite diameter, but anyway. So there's some big stuff that we might be able to actually use for other projects. At the moment, when I get to those big ones that don't smooth out with the bucket very easily, then I just grab them and set them aside, and they'll kind of be a border. But I'll get a layer of that, and then I'll come back with a layer of the crushed 3" minus, which is the stuff you see here at the bottom of the screen. And then once I get a reasonably smooth layer of that and have been driving on it all summer, then I'll come back with some road fabric, lay that down, and then cover that with a decent thick layer of 3 or 4 inches of 1 1/4" or 5/8 inch minus, so it'll give a nice smooth road, and that should give us a nice solid road that we won't have to worry about. We'll see how wet the ground around here gets, and if it seems like there's spots that are still sinking even with the junk under there, then I can come back at any given time, and add some more. But we'll see. This out of all the stumps that I've dug so far, this is the largest of the ash stumps, and it really didn't want to go. It took quite a bit to get that to finally move, and then getting it out of the hole turned out to be a completely different ballgame. So at the moment I'm trying to just break some of the smaller roots still, and now that it's free, see if I can get all the dirt off of around the main roots. Because a lot of the weight of the stump is the dirt that the roots are locked into. And so I keep trying to see if I can pick it up. The hope is I can get it to where I can pick it up and then drop it, and that knocks a fairly large amount of dirt loose. So, but as far as this quarry goes, apparently I have I kind of feel like I've passed into a little bit of a wow, that sun really got bright there. But I feel like I've passed into a little bit of a new, like a frequent flyers club kind of a thing. I pulled in today to get a load of 2" minus, and when I walked in, I told her what I needed, and she said okay, and so it's Jason, right? And I said yep. So I'm now recognized and on a first name basis with our local quarry, and I was thinking about how much we've actually picked up from them, and I know for a fact that we've had 120,000 tons. Sorry. Yeah. We've had 120 tons. Sorry, not 1,000. We've had 120 tons of rock that they have delivered for us before we got the dump trailer, and I'm pretty sure I've had almost that much, maybe more, that I have actually gone and picked up over the past few months. And that's just going to continue. Like, the rock is one of the most critical things for the property to be able to build anywhere out here. We have to, especially in this lower area. And that's actually a scary thought, as if this ash forest just disappears before I build get the roads and stuff built, and before I can get some cottonwoods and cedars and white oaks, and get some ditches dug to make sure that the drainage is being handled properly, get that to go to a single spot for the use of like a pond type of a thing, to improve the wetland area, then we're going to lose a lot of our cooling capability, so because we're going to lose all of our shade cooling, all of our leaf cooling, and we're going to lose a lot of our water usage. So I will probably at that point be fighting significantly more with water, which is a pretty big fear. So I mean, you win some and you lose some. On the bright side, aside from trading a forest for a well, we would be able to then pretty much. I would rent an excavator, like a 12 or 18 ton excavator. Here's the finished product of what I was working on the other day for the house site. This is the road that leads up to that. But I'd be able to just rent a large excavator and go through and just pop out every single stump and just get them all set off and piled off to the side, and then I could go through and do some serious drainage work. So if the forest disappears this summer, then we get a well this fall, and before it starts raining too bad, I can spend a day or two with a big excavator, and we'll see what we can get done, but who knows. So this is the first day of working the, or I guess this is the second day, I think, of work on the house site. That's pretty exciting, actually, to be able to get up there and start doing this. I've got a side project that we're working on, which is why I went and got some more 2-inch drain stone. We need a French drain through our entertaining area, and since we have my daughter and Emily's brother and my brother are all planning on spending some time out here this fall, we feel like we need to get this entertaining area going as well. So we wanted to get that done so we can get some grass seed planted. But this was just a fun picture. As I was working on the driveway, Charlie was just out enjoying the shade in the grass. He's learned pretty well to stay away from the highway, so I don't get after him too much when he comes down to see what I'm doing. But if I'm out there at the actual entrance, then I tend to yell for him to go home. And this is for the footage that you're going to start seeing. This was my solution to preventing the GoPro from falling. I just figured I'd take a piece of scrap rope and hook that up, and there you go. That's been a growing challenge. That suction cup, it works okay, but not very well. Anyway, that's the end of the footage and photos for today. So, as always, thank you for your time watching. God bless you and yours, and I hope you are able to stay safe and healthy out there.